So poops, what would happen if we got rid of matriculation? Now, whoa. I'm not calling for matriculation to end, but I'm just asking the question. But it seems like it's a question that people can't ask nowadays because it seems like this is one of the most sensitive topics in the entirety of Malaysia. Talk about how you want to get rid of it, and then people will issue statements about how you must retain it. It's so important. And if you're not careful, before you know it, people will start mass reporting you to the police, as Yubani found out the other day. If you don't know what matriculation is, it's a one-year program that's basically designed to help people get into public universities in Malaysia, so like UKM, UPM. Now see, in Malaysia we also have a way more rigorous system that's called STPM, which is basically short for Sijil Tinggi Persekolahan Malaysia, which is kind of like A-levels. It's way more rigorous and it's accepted by pretty much every single university in the world out there, and lots of people out there like to scream about how it is the hardest exam in the world, as if that's a flex for some reason. Now the interesting thing is, Malaysia has a lot of people out there who will complain about vernacular schools, but then the very same people, when you talk about matriculation, they will wholeheartedly support it. Even though technically it's just a one-year program that pretty much the whole world thinks is less rigorous than STPM or A-levels for that matter, but that all of these diehards are going out there screaming, merit-based sangat, accepted by international universities. Well, which then raises the question, right? If metric is equal to STPM, then why do you need two systems? If you couldn't solve the vernacular school problem when kids were in primary school, then why not solve it now by making a single system for everyone? Make everyone a part of matriculation, or get rid of matriculation and make everyone take STPM. So you don't have dramas about this Edward Wong 4.0, apply, cannot get in, graduation speech, cannot get metric, go to Harvard instead, type nonsense that we see year after year. For, you know, hashtag national harmony, national unity. Well, the very simple answer to this is that maybe you don't want to treat everybody equally. And if you have a shorter, easier, less rigorous system, and it's catered towards people of a certain race, it's kind of easy to imagine what the impact is going to be. And kind of not surprising given the history, honestly. So here's the drip, right? Once upon a time, there was only STPM. Super rigorous, super exam-based. Everybody suffers together so that you too can go to Dewan Tengku Chancellor. So wonderful, so amazing. Sad thing though is that during that time, there were actually very few Malays or other Bumiputra who were actually a part of public universities. Cause why? Because apparently STPM was too hard. Literally because they never went and dumbed down the syllabus, they didn't try to make it easier so that any Tom, Dick or Harry can pass any exam at all. A lot of people ended up failing, which is why they were like, you know what, we need to get an easier pathway for these people to go in. So yeah, that's how they started bringing in metric. First in some universities here and there, then in the 90s, then metric was put under the Ministry of Education and made into a real thing with a 90% Malay Bumiputra and 10% non-Bumiputra quota. So you can just imagine, right? Like if you're a non-Bumi and you're trying to get into a public university, it is clearly not easy to deal with. Which is why actually a lot of non-Bumis, right, they ended up just doing the private A-levels, IB, STPM route. Yet somehow or another, you know, a lot of people still like to talk about this whole it is meritocracy thing and talking about how, only the good students can get into matriculation. But I'm sure a lot of these people don't know about the Hoshu Sin case. And maybe they also didn't see how Mahathir said that metric was a backdoor for university admissions. Talking about how now even the Indians and the Chinese can get in by the back door. Which I think is complete BS. Even by the way, after he got rid of so-called quotas and said we are full meritocracy along the way. But I just have to ask, right? Is it meritocracy or do you favor people? I mean, like, can you choose one? And why do you need to go around just trying to puta halim, puta belit here, there and everywhere? Cause as far as I'm concerned, you cannot have it both ways. And so we come back to the present day. The moment you start criticizing metric, people will start screaming Article 153, yelping here, there, and everywhere. People seem like confused. They're like torn between wanting to say that matriculation is internationally recognized, it is so amazing and wonderful, and saying, oh, we actually need it. Well, if it is so wonderful, then I guess my question is, why not make it open for everyone? Why do you even need a quota in the first place? Why this weird, mad scramble cycle that you make people take part in every single year, even as you assume that every single non-boomy is going to go off to a private university, when all of us pay the same taxes and are entitled to the same resources.
And if you cannot do that,
then cakap je lah. How much do you want to glaze yourself and talk about how you are a progressive rakyat disantuni society where you are moving forward and competing with the world, and you don't want to talk about how, oh, I'm sorry, we're actually either racist or discriminating. If you want to make sure that certain groups of people have an easier feel of competition, why do you need to go out there and puta halim day in and day out? But on the other hand, if you are actually saying it is meritocratic, then that must mean you should prove it. Don't run away. Show that it's true. Which probably they won't. Which I think actually is such a shame. Cause I feel like if you actually just gave people an opportunity and told them that, you know what, you don't actually need a separate pathway, you don't need to be running off into the sunset, being supported by a tongkat along the way, you can actually compete on your own strength. But you know, who's gonna say what the result actually is going to be? You know, some people literally think that if you get rid of Matric, then somehow there'll be no Malays at UM, no Bumiputras, no more gone. Which is like, I don't know how little respect you actually have for our Malay community, but I don't think that that's very good for self-confidence, for actually developing the belief in yourself across generations, that somehow you have the ability to develop. And it seems to me kind of like a recipe to just perpetually and forever play victim while you keep on drinking your Kool-Aid and telling yourself that actually you are hebat, but you never really move forward. But well, that's the hill they've chosen to die on. But what do you think, Sapoops? If we get rid of matriculation, do you think it'll be bad? I don't know. But what do you think? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. That's all I have to say about that, and bye.